Welcome back to the PT Graduate Podcast. I'm excited on this Anzac Day to welcome my guest, Codie Wilkins, all the way from the GC. Is that right?
Yes, from the Gold Coast. Thank you for having me on today. It's really cool to be here and
Cool.
looking forward to chatting with you throughout this time.
Yeah. It's great to catch up. We kind of know each other from back in the Kaizen days, which was probably 2015 or 14, 15.
Yeah, around there. I think so.
Yeah. Did a fair bit of study together, didn't we, with those online catch-ups and the in-person catch-ups and so on, which was we were coming to your part of the world. It was great to get some winter sunshine or autumn sunshine. It was getting cold for you and it was still hot for us. It was great times.
Yeah, it's interesting weather here at the moment. There's
It?
rain coming and going pretty fast. So yeah.
You had a bit of water as well.
Yeah, we had some times where it was quite flooded, but I'm quite lucky. I live up on a hill towards the southern end of the Gold Coast, epic views, and I'm quite lucky when we do get those really torrential rain times that, I'm good where I am.
Oh, fantastic. Good to hear. A friend of mine who used to live in the same village as me now, who moved to Brisbane, and still Facebook friends, and I see these photos of his front lawn underwater, and there's like 3 steps to his front door, and it's sort of every day it was creeping up, and I think they just got to the point where it was level and then it went back down again. It was touch and go.
Yeah, some people had it tough, and it was quite a surreal experience being up here on the hill, like nothing was happening, and then just suburbs down the road, houses were going under.
Yeah. Torrential. With so much cleanup. Oof.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's not about that, it's about you. So there's some stuff I do know, but there's a lot of stuff I probably don't know. So maybe take us to the beginning and help us understand how, because you did the originally the PT thing, and you were in Brisbane, I think, when we first met, and you've done some bodybuilding and all. You've done a lot, so it'd be really interesting to kind of hear how you got started and what drew you in, and take it from there.
Cool. Wow, it's interesting reflecting back on everything and going back to where it all started. I was just thinking about this morning, knowing I was coming on today, and where it all started is going to the gym. I was like, I've got to do something for me. I'm going to join some classes and feel good and look good. And then getting a personal trainer myself, and she was competing in bodybuilding at the time. And I remember when I started training with her, I was like, I'm not going to do what you're doing. I think it's disgusting. It looks gross. And then literally within a few months, I was doing it too, because it was way beyond what you could achieve in the physical appearance.
Yeah.
That was really the stepping stone into becoming a personal trainer. Doing the bodybuilding it was such a major turning point in my life. Like at the time when I did it, I used to be the party girl, going out a lot, drinking a lot, and having mental health struggles as well. And that was a real pivotal moment in my life to really be able to start taking steps to overcome that. And just what I achieved throughout that time through bodybuilding, it's like, wow, this is really awesome, and I'd love to help people do the same thing. So that's when I actually enrolled into doing the personal training, and it was all history from there. I was working full-time in a law firm as well.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, and it probably took me longer than what it needed to, but that was the juggle of working full-time and the training for the bodybuilding, as well as studying to become a personal trainer. And then there was the point of, okay, I'm going to go chat to someone at a gym, and it just all happened quite naturally. My friend worked at a gym. She's like, hey, come in and chat to the manager. And went in, and it went really well. And I just made the decision to take the leap and go all in on starting the personal training.
Right. Cool. And that was is that like a chain or private club, or?
That was a big franchise one, Fitness First.
Okay.
Probably one of the 2 biggest gyms. There's more coming about, but Fitness First and Good Life were quite predominant in terms of big chain gyms. So coming into that gym and starting out with them, and the usual fears come with it of, am I going to make it work? Am I going to have to go back to my 9-to-5 job? And it was like, this just has to happen. I went with, to be honest, not much money behind me, but I'm the kind of person, and generally always have been, that I'll know that it'll work out. I've just got to put in the work. So put in the work. And at the time, I didn't know a lot either. So I was in the gym for a long period of time throughout the whole day, every day of the week, and I built quite a successful business just in my first 3 months of being there. And
Brilliant.
yeah, that's the starting point.
Fantastic. And that's the story, right? I mean, that's what has to happen, I think. And, you know, we can't underestimate how much work has to go in at the beginning of anything new to build that momentum.
Yeah.
And I've spoken to a few people on here, and you know, those first few months are really when the work goes in, and that can be the clincher, you know, the first 3 months. And presumably you had a system where the rent that you were paying got greater the longer you were there, or the more clients you picked up. And so by 3 months, you were probably paying full rent.
Yeah. So by the end of that 3-month period, I was paying full rent. And I guess from that point onwards, it was like I was there for 7 years. So it was a roller coaster ride. Like, I guess there is a general perception, and it may have changed over time, that going into something like personal training, it's like, yeah, I get to be my own boss. I can sleep and I can go to the beach and all this. But there's so much more to it than that. Like there's so much that goes into running a business. So there was the usual ebbs and flows that comes with it, but it was a continual journey of, like, I guess the biggest thing for me in the success was relationships. So I built a solid base in that 3 months, and what really kept going through all of the ups and downs of the clients cancelling, people finishing their time with me, new people coming on, the biggest sustainable piece throughout all of that was relationships. And I had a lot of long-term clients throughout that time. Like, I've been in it for 9 years now, and I still do a bit of online personal training, and I've actually still got one client that I had right from the very start.
Oh, wow.
And that's 9 years in the making.
Yeah.
So it's
Fantastic.
Yeah, that was the biggest piece of success for me throughout the highs and lows of it, was maintaining good relationships.
I mean, that's probably the most solid tip there, right there. That's what it's all about, isn't it? You know, it's a relationship business, and the other stuff kind of comes after that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think something that really stood out to me, that clients, I think something that was really good for retention, like a lot of clients would comment to me through their sessions, is how focused I was on them, and just little things like remembering bits about what they got up to in the previous week, what was coming up for them, and not from a place of a sales point of view of keeping them, but just from literally a place of caring and having that relationship with them.
That real human side of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So were you still doing the bodybuilding thing when you went into PT? So did that happen concurrently, or did you kind of do the bodybuilding thing and then go, right, PT?
Yeah. So interesting. It was about a year or so before I started PT, and then I was still doing it through that transition of starting. So I was getting ready for my last show as I started to build my business. And
crikey.
Wow, was it a lot to manage? It was.
Yeah.
There's so much that goes into it. Anyone that's listening that has done bodybuilding before, or even just general things of having your training and managing your meal prep and eating well and getting enough sleep and running your business, it was a lot. And I wouldn't change anything, because everything happens for a reason. But I also ended up incredibly burnt out, and my hormonal health as a female was heavily affected as well. So the journey of coming out of that as well, once I completed my show, it was great. I did really well. And then the journey coming out of that was managing my adrenal health, which is how I eventually got into Kaizen after that.
Yes.
And then also getting my hormonal health on track, and also the relationship I had with my body and the way I thought about food. So there was a lot that happened that I had to overcome, but you know, your mess becomes your message as well. So it was the evolution into the holistic health, coming on board with Kaizen, and you know, that passion growing more and more for wanting to help people, because it's something that a lot of people experience when they go through these sorts of things. Is, I guess it's like the pitfalls of it, where you've got, how is your mindset when you go through it? Can you still have a healthy relationship with your body? Can you understand that, you know, there's certain ways that you get to look at your food, and how can you manage how you let your mindset affect that as well?
Yeah. It's all wrapped up together, isn't it? Did the did the, you know, working with a PT and then getting into that bodybuilding side of things make a difference for you from a mental point of view? You mentioned that earlier about the mental health side of things, and I think we all have those challenges or those highs and lows at some point, don't we? Obviously the adrenal stuff sort of came later, but did it do what you wanted it to do?
Like doing the bodybuilding and having the PT.
Yeah, and sort of helping from a mental health point of view.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, yes, there was some downfalls to the bodybuilding, and it wasn't any reflection of the work itself or the PT. It was my own mindset at the time and managing my sleep and all those sorts of things. But coming back to having a personal trainer and doing the bodybuilding and the impact it had on my mental health, with a lot of the stuff that I was carrying within mentally and emotionally, that was like a key piece in me stepping up in my confidence and having more belief in myself. I remember when I first started with my personal trainer, I will never forget this moment because I often reflect back into it now that I am a personal trainer, health coach, and mindset coach, is that there was one session that I was just waiting in the gym for her, and I was looking around and I was looking at all the trainers, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I would never have the confidence to be a personal trainer.
All right.
And to go from there to actually into doing that and continuing to grow and evolve beyond that, it's like there's learnings in everything, and everything happens for a reason. And that was such a key point in my life, what I gained out of having a personal trainer and doing those bodybuilding shows. I wouldn't change any of it.
That's amazing. So just that leap from I wouldn't have the confidence to be a PT, but then becoming one, doing the bodybuilding on stage, that's a phenomenal change and a phenomenal shift.
Yeah, that was incredible.
Yeah. So roll on a few years, you've done the functional health stuff, you've understood your adrenal health and how that's disrupted your hormones as a result of the bodybuilding, and you've learned the tools to kind of correct all of that stuff. What then sort of led you down the path that you've more recently been doing? I know you've done a lot of NLP work, and you've got some hypnotherapy stuff in there as well, and that's obviously the mindset coach component of the work that you do now.
Yeah,
it sounds like, you know, the mindset thing seems to be a bit of a theme all the way through, even from the very beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess the more that I did and the more that I learned, it was like the more I realized that mindset had such a big player in everything that we do. And even when I was thinking about this morning, reflecting back onto the tools that we had in managing our adrenal health in those Kaizen days, is where we go through breaking down what is actually causing the stress. And over 50% of that is mental and emotional. So the more I went on my journey and learnt these things and started delving into personal development, everything I learnt when I was working with you guys, it's like, wow, there's really something about this mindset piece that we can give you all of the training advice, the training plan, the nutrition plan, the things that you need to do or have to do or want to do. But it's your mind that controls the outcome. It's you that decides whether you're actually going to take the action. It's you that decides whether you're motivated or not. So it's like there's something in this mindset thing, and I'd love to be able to have another tool in my tool belt, I guess you'd say, to be able to help people do that. And it was beyond that. Like there was more that I knew I wanted to work on within myself. And even though I was doing so much work, there was still so much more to be done. And that's where it's like, there's something more for me. There's something more for my clients. And that's when I was like, I feel like there's something in NLP that's really going to help me shift that within myself and to really give me the tools to help clients beyond how I'm already helping them.
Brilliant. How much did you know about NLP before you kind of delved into it?
Not a lot, to be honest. Like it was more on my radar from a sense of having different coaches over time and hearing things on, maybe seeing things on social media. It was knowing bits and pieces. And I heard people talk about timeline before. And for anyone that has done NLP, working on the timeline has very powerful work within it. Yep. And I didn't know anything about it all. All I knew is that something about timeline exists within NLP, and I feel that that's going to be the thing that's going to give me the biggest shift that I'm looking for, as well as my clients. It was just like a curiosity. And one of the most powerful tools within doing NLP that really turned my life around from the time that I did it, and also for my clients as well.
I'm curious now. So can you kind of share a little bit about what that means in terms of timeline?
Yeah, so there's this technique called timeline therapy, and it's the ability to go through certain processes where you're able to access past events and learn from them. So if you're
Right.
carrying a negative association to a past event, you're able to go into a process where you gain learnings for it, which helps change your perspective on those past experiences.
Yeah.
And I guess it updates the beliefs that you have within yourself now to hold you in a higher state, like a higher state of empowerment for yourself moving forward. Like
Right.
it's hard to put into words because it is
Mm.
very powerful and profound. And yeah, it's even if you don't necessarily remember a lot of stuff from your past, you can still access those events, the core events for you, to really help to start to turn things around for you and give you that different perspective in your life.
Yeah. That sounds it sounds profound, and it kind of reminded me of a podcast episode where the guy who was being interviewed used a similar technique, and he would talk. Say they kind of ran a role play on the podcast with the guy hosting, and said, "Can you go back to when you were 5?" Yeah, I can do that. Can I talk to that 5-year-old? Yeah. He's happy to listen, And he had this sort of third party conversation with that person when they were young, and he was able to. It was bizarre to listen to, but it kind of made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And he was basically freeing up emotions during that conversation, and then sort of said, "Right, how do you feel now?" He said, "Well, I kind of feel lighter, or I feel, there was some real impact that it had." And it sounds like there's some similarity to the timeline thing that you referred to.
Yeah, it's really
Yeah.
powerful. I had a client just last week who has had a lot of mental struggles over
Mm.
her time throughout her life, and it's been quite severe recently. And we went through a process last week. And at the end of it, she's like, "Oh, wow, I just feel like my chest feels so much lighter." Like her chest would normally feel really heavy.
Mm.
And just from being able to visit past events for her and get the learnings from it, it's like it lifts the weight of the world off your shoulders.
Wow. Wow. So you've been through this now, and you're a coach actually coaching this stuff, but also using it for your clients as well. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. So it's a combination of everything now. It's intertwining and this is where it's great to have that holistic perspective of there's the health, there's the fitness, and there's a mindset, and it's
Mm.
being able to encompass everything in how can I help to improve someone's life, as well as embodying that within myself as well. It's like I know how to look after myself health wise. I know what I need to do to move my body, and I've now got the tools to help with my mindset, because if the mindset is what drives and everything, it's like anything becomes possible, and it becomes so much easier to achieve your goals.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it makes total sense. I think that's the hardest part, isn't it? Because in the, PT role or the coach role or whatever people are doing, the physical changes won't occur until the head's in the right place. And sometimes that behavior change that behavior change is the most difficult thing to shift, because different people need different things, and it's finding the right buttons to press for the individual client, isn't it, that will make the difference. And we don't always have we certainly don't get any of those skills at PT school. It's something that you kind of learn as life goes on, unless you do some structured education around it like you have,
Yeah.
or other qualifications.
Absolutely. And it's like, I think you've done a little bit of this work yourself as
Mm.
well. It goes beyond, like, as a coach or a personal trainer, whoever it is out there, it goes beyond the transformation that can happen either for yourself or the client. It's like it gives you that ability to, like, when you learn something such as NLP, it gives you that ability to understand where other people are coming from, how they operate, how they make decisions, and what
Mm.
may be driving their behavior, so that you can actually gain a deeper level of rapport with them and help them to navigate, I guess, helping them to see making better choices for themselves. So there's
Yeah.
so much that it goes into.
Yeah. No, you're right, and that does touch on some of the stuff that I've done. And it's clear you kind of get an increased level of empathy for people, don't you? Because when you understand, and the word that I've been taught is their map. So their map of the world is different to everybody else's map, and they're only operating off their map. So you can't impose other things on people when they're not ever going to get it, because your map's different to their map, And so it's understanding the individual and listening more and asking the right questions. And like you said, building that rapport, so that when you're in rapport, then you're going to get a much better outcome once you start digging into the meat of whatever it is the coaching session is about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I guess being able to understand that and do that and have an awareness within yourself. Like if you look at being a personal trainer, for example, having that awareness in, your client is looking up to you, they're looking for advice and they're looking for instructions. They need the map to get to where they want to go. And as that role model for them, you get to be mindful of how you're telling them what to do, what you're prescribing to them, because it's having that awareness of how they might receive it within their mind and how they then take that information forward. So yeah, it's really important to have that awareness as a coach and personal trainer that, you're really giving them, they're taking on board your advice. So how can you give it to them in the best way that improves their life in all areas?
Yeah, that's powerful. And that again comes back to sort of greater levels of self-awareness in terms of the way you interact with client A compared to client B, because they need different things, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it's with all the education, there's still that fine tuning and practice, isn't there, of actually doing the doing? Because I hear myself say things to clients like, oh, why did you just say that? Like that was such a stupid thing to say. And you know that it hasn't landed because you just the expression on their face think that was not inappropriate, but that was just the wrong thing at the wrong time, and
yeah.
It's always a journey. Well, it is for me anyway.
It is. It's always an ongoing journey. And I think one of the biggest things I've learned is that everyone is doing the best they can with the resources they have. So whether that you're thinking about that from a client perspective or your own, like you're always growing, you're always evolving. And, in personal training and coaching in many roles, you're learning on the go. So if you have an experience where you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that or done that, or I could have done that differently, everything is a lesson. Like there's learnings in everything. So rather than seeing something as failure, what feedback can you take back from it to give to yourself to then improve moving forward? I was watching a Kerwin Ray summit the other week, and he talked about like the whole failure thing. It's actually given you knowledge and experience. So, you have something different to utilize next time as well.
Yeah. So it's reframing the misses and the failures, isn't it, as an opportunity to learn. And some of the top athletes frame it like that, don't they? There's been plenty of inspirational quotes that can be transferred from sport and business perfectly. Yeah. I'm curious about the other thing I'm curious about is the hypnotherapy. I know that there's some, I don't know whether overlap's the right word, but there's some sort of synchronicity between hypnotherapy and some of the NLP work. And I haven't really got into that side of things, other than sort of understanding where it would fit, but not actually doing it. What have you done, and have you used it?
Yeah, so hypnotherapy is very powerful, and it is very intertwined with NLP in many different ways. And I guess one of the biggest pieces is the language, because in understanding language and the impact that it has on people and intertwining the two, when you're delivering hypnotherapy, it's all like a bunch of words basically, because you're talking to them in a therapeutic session to create powerful change within themselves. So to understand the power of the language that you're using, that you learn both in hypnotherapy and NLP, it's just much deeper if you do the both of them.
Right.
So then when you're delivering the therapy to your clients within hypnotherapy, you know how to frame the language in the right way so that it's received in the best way. And the power of hypnotherapy is, for those that know about the subconscious mind, is you're able to get that conscious and subconscious connection with hypnotherapy, where that barrier is dropped. And when I say barrier, I mean the thoughts that come into your mind of, no, that's not possible, I can't do that, I can't believe that barrier is dropped within hypnotherapy, and that's where you can create that positive change. And I'll utilize a weight loss example is you can do weight loss in hypnotherapy, where you're able to obviously get that connection with the subconscious mind to drop in those powerful suggestions such as, well, you'll find it easily and effortless to eat healthy and release the weight that you want to release. And it's potentially overcoming sabotaging behaviors that they may be experiencing in being able to achieve their goals. And so much that you can use it for. Like, I've seen someone share it on their social media that does a lot with her clients, is reducing snacking and, you know, maybe changing up foods that you know aren't good for you and that maybe you eat too much of. And that's just an example within weight loss. There's so much that it can be used for, and it can be tailored to an individual based on what they want to work on.
Right. When you say the word hypnotherapy, of course, most people's minds go to what they've seen on TV, and people swinging wrist, watches in front of them, or, you know, things that, they follow with their eyes until they're dazed. But that it's not necessarily a shift. It is more about the language and a conversation that you have that enables you to sort of dig down into that subconscious, so they're still very much aware and in control of what they're doing. It's just a tool, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. It's another tool, and it is a generalized perception. And this is what I always talk with clients about at the start is, no, it's not you'll drop onto the floor quacking like a duck. You could if you wanted to, but in hypnotherapy, you will only do what you're willing to accept to do within your values, and you're always consciously aware throughout the process. And when we're in the training rooms and like in the hypnotherapy courses, we might have fun with the stage show experience because it is fun. But even within that, you'll still only do what you're willing to accept to do as well.
Yeah. Okay. So the people that do start quacking like ducks are just very open to being a duck.
Yeah, like that's me. I'm a highly suggestible. I love being a duck when I'm playing with hypnotherapy. It's fun.
I'd like to see that clip.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
So do you spend a lot more time in this space now in terms of client work, or do you still have a mixture of the different sort of the health coaching clients and the PT clients as well? What's the go?
I've got a small handful of actually online personal training clients, and that's from when I moved from Brisbane to the Gold Coast, because these are the clients I've got great relationships with and we continue to train. And especially with everything that happened in the lockdown periods, more and more people started training at home. So it was quite a turning point for online personal training as well. So a small handful of that. And I do predominantly focus on the life coaching and the hypnotherapy.
Yeah.
And I am looking at getting back into more fitness instructing and personal training, because it's all interlinked, and there's a lot that I can bring to the table with the mix of tools that I have in how I can help someone achieve their goals.
Yeah, it just gives you more tools in that toolbox, doesn't it? Yeah. So that's the stuff you love. I mean, it's still in your blood, the on the gym floor, or at least somewhere where people can do their exercise.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Brilliant. So what's next? Where does that lead you? I mean, it sounds like, or from what I can gather, you've done a hell of a lot of study already. You're already a master trainer or master coach?
Yeah, so master coach of NLP and hypnotherapy. And in terms of training, like I worked for a period of time with the trainer that I did my course with, and I've actually been in, it's like 9 or 10 trainings of NLP and hypnotherapy. So it's like that mastery of the skill. And to be honest, I'd probably continue to relearn what I've learned within that, because there's so much to it. And the more you immerse yourself into your, whatever you want to call it, the skill that you love, the more you embody it within yourself and it becomes second nature. Yeah. So I guess for me, it's continuing to learn that. And there's so much more that I want to learn, because it's like Pandora's box has been opened for me since I did NLP. And there's still much more I want to bring to the table. And I recognize that it happens over time. And you also get to be mindful of how much you take on at once as well. So there is more for me, and those next lot of courses will come in time. Sure.
Yeah. I guess you'll know when the time is right. I like the fact that you're going back over stuff and you're mastering it, which is, something that needs to be on my list as well, because of, there's there's no end to the number of times you can go through stuff and learn some other aspects of it, I guess.
Yeah, and even if you like, because there can be a lot of people that might teach the one thing, and one thing I've really loved lately is learning some of the same things off someone else, and it's put it in a completely different perspective, and like light bulbs start going off and see different ways that you can utilize things as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, different people do it different ways. Yeah. You've dropped some fantastic tips in there already, which I'm liking, but there may be some more, I suspect, because you've been deploying this knowledge for a while now. That any others for, not necessarily just PTs, but coaches as well who work with clients not necessarily on the gym floor, but
I guess for like health and fitness coaches, like I guess the biggest thing would be, one thing I've noticed over my time is that we've really made exercise and nutrition complicated, and it doesn't have to be. So if you look at your diet, for example, like the biggest thing I tell clients and even just friends and family that want advice is just eat a nutrient dense diet, eat intuitively, listen to when you're hungry, and ensuring you get adequate amounts of your macro and micronutrients. It's like society's just made it so complicated. There's so much information out there. So keep it simple and listen to your body. And I guess in terms of, like we've talked about mindset a lot, that's majorly my passion. And the biggest thing that you can do, I feel, is to look after your mental health. So I touched on earlier that if you're looking at stress, because we live in a society that's really busy, where there's a lot of people that don't take enough time for themselves. So looking after your mental health, if it's such a big contributor to managing your stress health, is obviously the more you look after your mental health, the less stressed you are. And the less stressed you are, the healthier you are, the more energy you have. And like I said, it becomes so much easier to achieve your goals. And whether that's just taking time out for yourself, whether you're reading books, whether that's investing in coaches and doing courses, it's the best thing that you can do. Like going on a personal growth journey is like peeling back an onion, peeling back the layers, and the things that wait on the other side for you are amazing.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah.
And I think and just for coaches, any coaches that are listening, one of the biggest things I've learned is compare you to you, because we can get caught up in noticing what everyone around us is doing. And that plays a part in what happens in the internal dialogue. So focus on you, use other people for inspiration, and remember how far you've come as well.
Awesome. Yeah, that's so good. It's so easy to compare, isn't it, when there's so much opportunity to do that with social media, and that's the biggest culprit of comparison, I think. But awesome tips there, Codie. I think those are wise words, and things people should definitely be incorporating, or at least thinking about incorporating, because there's opportunity for improvement through some of those things.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And thank you for having me on. It's been awesome chatting, and I can't believe how fast that time flew by.
Yeah. I think we've cracked over half an hour already. Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah.
Awesome. It's been great catching up, and really appreciate your time and your vulnerability, sharing what you've shared and all your knowledge, and I hope that it's been valuable for people listening. So good to see you, and thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.